I want to tell you just a little bit about one of the projects that we did on Vietnamese Americans. And that exhibit called Exit Saigon, Enter Little Saigon, I think is still traveling around the country. It's gone to about a dozen different communities in the United States. But this project began when a few community leaders in the DC metro region came to my office and said, Otto, can we do a Vietnamese American project? And I said, not sure, you know. So I called our fundraiser person, and I said, Francie, how can we discourage them from getting us to work on something which might not happen? And she said, well, I have an idea. Why don't we tell them to put together a group of about a dozen people? And so we did, and we invited them to go on a tour of the National Museum of American History to see what an exhibit might look like. And then we bought some inexpensive sandwiches and had a meal and said, okay, this is now mid-November of 2004. So if you're really serious, and we did some background research, so we knew some of these people had fairly deep pockets. So we knew a little bit about their capacity. So we need to raise, in order to hire a curator, we need to raise at least $60,000. And we'll give you until January of 2005. So what we were telling them essentially was, you need to raise $10,000 a week for 6 weeks, each week. Well, they raised $100,000 in that period. It was extraordinary. So we were delighted to be told where to get off, and the project actually worked. So one of the keys, I think, engaging the community and empowering its members to take responsibility for its own destiny. If you can do these two things, engage and empower the communities and create a sustainable model and structure, you will have done a lot, in my mind, to achieve success in being good stewards of our heritages. I know there are many successful projects ongoing in Minnesota, and congratulate you as a leading example of empowerment and sustainability. Sometimes things get tough, but future generations, including scholars, students, and your own descendants, will be very grateful for your work. I thank you for your commitment and efforts, and thank you for your presence tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Otto, for being so generous. And when I first approached him to be our keynote speaker, I had no idea what type of person he would be or what type of request, but I'm always one to just ask. And so I emailed him, and he said yes. And so what I learned from that is they're big giants, but don't be afraid to ask, because they may have been waiting for that call. And so when he said, I'm anxious, I know friends, I have connections in Minnesota, and I'm eager to see what you guys have going on in Minnesota with regards to cultural and heritage preservation. And here he is, and we've been touring him around for 2 days, trying to get as much of his brain and knowledge as we can when he's here in Minnesota. So thank you so much, Dr. Otto, for being here, for being very generous with your time and your knowledge.